Where are we? We are in Pozo, yes, 20 minutes from the airport. It's obviously Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, and this is one of the most iconic jumping spots in the world. Windsurfing is alive here in Pozo, and I'm going to give you a quick tour around, well, the opening to Pozo. We're going to walk into Pozo as you've just turned up. We're going to look at the beach. We're going to look at some hazards, some do's and some don'ts. Yes, this is all about Pozo. So if you've never been, stay tuned. Let's go for a quick walk around. So we're coming into Pozo. The first thing you're greeted with here, the home of wind, Pozo Izquierdo, and it says July the 5th to the 13th. What is that? That is the World Cup, the PWA World Cup. So all the top stars will be here for that competition. We are about a week before the competition starts, and I tell you what, I've just been on the water for the last couple of days and it is crazy out there. The world's best jumpers are going crazy. We're going to touch on that in a minute, but just stay tuned because it does get pretty feisty on the water. It's a small beach, you know, at this time of year especially. In the winter, a lot more, you know, quiet. In the sort of early season, not the World Cup, you've got a lot more space, but right now it's pretty packed. So let's walk into Pozo. This is what you've got to expect. So it's a small town. There's a few windsurfing shops here. We're going to be going into one of them, that's for sure. There's got a few sort of like, you know, mini markets. So there is food, you know, drink. You can buy a few beers, you can get an ice cream, you know, all the sort of stuff you would need to survive. You know, there's no big supermarkets here, but some little stores. But this place is obviously about windsurfing. You know, this is what this place has kind of been built on. And over the years, they've been building actually some newer houses over the other side of Pozo. And it's actually becoming a resort in its own right, which is interesting, I've got to say. So as we're walking into Pozo, we've just got to be careful. So this is the beach. Further down here, this is like the main road into Pozo. We've got Dida Moreno. She's actually got a physio place here. Obviously Dida, the queen of Pozo. I think she's won this event over 20 times, which is crazy. And she's now, well, she retired a few years ago, but the news is she is going to be entering the World Cup again this year. So, but that is her business. If you can imagine, in a windsurfing town, what do you need? Well, you need a windsurfing shop, yes. But a physio is one of the higher, you know, businesses. I can't imagine. She must be just absolutely flat out. It's kind of crazy. So many sailors have spent some time in that physio, I can tell you that for sure. But as you can see, you know, coming down here, you've got little bits of accommodation. You know, where do you find accommodation these days? I mean, a lot of the time it's speaking to the locals. I know Pozo Winds, you know, you can get hold of them. They've got some apartments and they've also got contacts. Airbnb obviously is one place where a lot of people talk to, but it has pushed up the prices here in Pozo and there's definitely been an increase over the years. But yeah, I mean, oof, there's a lot of dogs also in the Canaries. The cameraman just nearly had his leg off. But there's so many dogs in the Canaries, it's unbelievable. I've never seen so many dogs. So this is one of the restaurants, closed at the moment because we're kind of early in the day, but they've got some outside seating, and right next to the restaurant is Pozo Winds, yes, the famous shop. The calf, you know, the regulars sitting out here, enjoying a coffee, maybe having a beer. But like I said, I always go on about, you know, Pozo Winds, the best shop in Pozo, but you just turned up, you know. Justin, who I'm staying with here, turned up the other day, you know, hadn't got anything with him, and within sort of 20-minute drive from the airport, you go downstairs, you know, the gear's downstairs here, you pick up your gear, you get the wetsuit, you get the harness, and within like an hour from the plane, you're on the water, which is kind of crazy. Now, the good thing is, if you come to Pozo Winds, when you're looking at the beach, which we're going to see in a minute, it's not always easy to understand how windy it is. But this bad boy here says it's 25 knots. So you've got all the details here, and the guys that work in the shop obviously can translate that into what sail size you should use. Also, when you first turn up here, the first thing they will show you is this. Now this is an aerial view of the beach. Pozo Winds is up here. So we are here, we're gonna walk down this Viento, there's a restaurant here. This is the upper wind spot of the beach. There's a big rock here that we've seen a few people crash on over the years. This is where, you know, when you're first starting to Pozo, you're gonna sail up here. We're gonna go down to the beach and talk about this. Then as we get down to the bunker, which is down here, this is where more the pro riders and the big kind of hard chargers go. We're gonna be talking about the walk of shame, which is a long walk. So there's lots of things. The car parks here. We're going to be talking about this, but it is an interesting thing. Definitely familiarize yourself with this, especially this walk of shame, because it does happen. Yes. So yes, Pozo Winds. This is where I would recommend to go. If you're renting from here, all the sails, you know, rigged up. You basically look at that wind meter. They look at you. They say, "Oh, yeah, you've got a bit of weight on you. Are you a bit skinny? Okay, we're going to take the, you know, 4-2. You can choose different ones. They've got Goya, they've got a few Simmer, they've got some duotone, and then obviously the boards are down in the cave. Yes, we won't go down there right now. You've seen it on the other videos, but I mean, you can pretty much see. You just grab your boards down there, they put it up here, they rig it for you, put the boom on, kind of size you up, and then send you on your way. Okay, so you've got your gear, you're ready to go. You're walking down the road and you're like, hang on a minute. You know, didn't expect that, did you? Because you are genuinely walking down the road. Luckily, everyone's kind of used to it here, so you're not going to get run over. So, walking down the beach, and there'll be a few, you know, especially this time of year with the World Cup on, there'll be a few famous names around. You know, you will literally be, if you're into windsurfing and you know the top guys, you will be spotting all the big names here in Pozo. And there'll be certain which you know is going to be better for you as a first timer, and there's going to be certain states of tides which is better as a pro where you're trying to maximize the conditions. And I'm going to talk about that. So this is the first sort of sign of the beach, the first bit. Now rigging, if you've got yourself from Pozo Winds, you're already rigged up, you basically walk straight down to the water, which we'll go into. If you're bringing your own gear, the car park is here, and you're going to be rigging up around here. It is windy. There's a lot of buildings around, so you're going to get gusts from different angles. You have to be really careful of that. It's not like a normal beach where you just leave your gear, it's all good. It is not all good. You have to pay, you know, big attention to that. Like I said, look, see, all the stars are around here. But like I said, there is names, every name in windsurfing when the World Cup's on are hanging around here. You've got all the young guns as well. But this is pretty much where people come down in the morning to check the conditions. There's also actually, if you are feeling super lazy, which sometimes is me, you get on the Pozo Winds webcam or something like this, and you can actually see the wind meter and you can actually see the conditions. So it's super helpful. But the normal thing is to do, get some fresh air, calm down, stand on the railings and go, how's it looking today? So, quick observation for me. We've got quite low tide at the moment. So if you are coming here for the first time, I would suggest coming here at low tide. You can see where the rocks are. You can see how the layup is. You know, up this top end is where you're going to be sailing when you first come to Pozo. The wind is more cross-shore up here, so it's a little bit easier. And then as you get better, where the top guys go is right down the other end of the beach. Where you can see in the background there is a bit of a square concrete sort of slab, which is the bunker. You've probably heard of some people saying, oh, the bunker, the bunker. The bunker is basically that square in the background. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You've got Viento restaurant. Now this is definitely the best position in Pozo. You know, you've had a session, you've maybe been out for 10 minutes and you're knackered. No, I'm joking. You maybe been at half an hour, you come in, you know, you can leave your kit on the beach, but it's a windy old spot. We're going to go into a bit more of that, but let's have a quick look. I might send our roving cameraman in. to the bit, but you can sit here, it's out the wind, you know, you can have a coffee, and this is probably the best view from a coffee shop restaurant in the world. You've got proper Windsurfing.TV live, you know, crashes, crazy stuff going on, and you're sitting here out the wind enjoying a nice coffee. Awesome food. But if you want to have a look inside, let's have a little look. So this is El Viento restaurant. As you can see, super nice, got a great menu, good food, helpful staff, and yeah, and it's got better over the years. It's really had a makeover. If you haven't been to Pozo for a while, you know, this is super nice. Looks really good. And you've also got all the webcams in the background, which look like they're a bit offline at the moment, but usually, you know, if you're stuck inside and you can't see the water, at least you can see what's going on. So yeah, let's take a little walk down here. I'm just going to take you around the corner. This is where it gets super windy, so I'm going to hold on to my hat. But got the harbour up there. You can't actually sail from that harbour, although sometimes we used to stay up there back in the day and we'd sail out the harbour down and sail back in. And that was actually really nice to do, but apparently it's illegal to do that, so you can't do that anymore. So we're going to have to go down to the beach, and that's where we're going to launch. So good spot here for filming out the wind. This is where the lazy people film. All the lazy people film from here. It's like you grab a drink from El Viento, sit here out the wind, but it's not the best perspective, but it's comfortable.
It's comfortable for a video maker, no?
Look at this, look, he's relaxing. Who are you filming?
I'm filming Milanka, my friend, because she was filming me like for 2 months and I never filmed her back, so...
You bad boy. Well, that's good then. We'll get out your way. Happy filming. There we go. So this is one place to film from, because there are only a few spots really you want to film from in Pozo because of the wind. You know, so this is a nice sheltered spot in here. What am I on about? We're not talking about the famous rock, are we? So this is the famous rock. If you've followed Windsurfing TV over the years, you will have seen this rock. This has caused more carnage than anything that I can remember. And when you look at it like this, you're thinking, how does anybody hit this thing? It happens. The classic is late at night, the sun isn't there, it's over there. It's a higher tide, so the rock is nearly covered. Yes, there's a flag on it, but when the sun's this way, you're busy looking at the waves and you're trying to cut it close, it happens. There's been numerous times, but be careful of that rock. As much as you think it won't be me, it could be you. I tell you, you'd be surprised. Let me know in the comments if you know anyone or you've actually had an issue with that rock, but it definitely can happen. You know, some of the most experienced sailors. I've got about 20. No, Sammy just saying he's got a video of someone hitting it the other day. It happens all the time. You know, we can't get rid of it. It's a big old rock, but definitely one to watch. So it has, like, Pozo has had a bit of a makeover with some, you know, new pavement stuff being put in. We've obviously got the statue. You know, obviously the Moreno twins, yeah, Bayer Moreno, you know, world champion many times, died in Moreno, won this event more times, obviously Bjorn Dunkerbeck. This is a statue sort of dedicated to them. There's sail numbers at the top of that statue. And when it's windy, you do see it moving a lot, and you're kind of like, is that all right? It's been here for a long time. It hasn't broke yet. It looks like they've put some reinforcements in though, but it's still going strong. We've also got to talk about the car park. So as you can see, there's basically some blue sort of windbreaks been put up. Now you would think that would be the perfect place to rig up next to or behind. The problem is with the wind here, it actually creates this kind of like eddy where it spins up and spins your gear around. So actually a lot of people don't rig up behind it because it actually causes more problems. You think you'd put your gear behind it, be safe. It's not. And I've seen boards here that are just left flat on the floor. You'd think there'd be no problem, take off, flow away. Actually, funnily enough, we saw a brand new sail the other day take off and go over that building. And the guys who sail it is an experienced guy. You know, he said it's never happened before, but just took his eye off it, thought it would be okay. The thing took off and went over the building. Mike, you know who you are. So, you know, this is an interesting one. Just make sure when you rig up, you know, I need to see someone with their gear down just to show you the ways to do it. But a lot of people put rocks on their boards. So even a small rock just on the board, on the pad, just to keep that weight, because they fly. They absolutely fly. This is the new ramp. If you, like I say, if you haven't been to Pozo for a while, you won't even know. But this is absolute plush, you know. Perfectly nice ramp. It used to be a lot more rough, let's say, than that. But so you've rigged up, you've come down from Pozo Winds, you walk down the ramp. This is going to be your first experience, and probably if it's your first time in Pozo, you're looking at those rocks going, oh my life, you know, pack your boots. You know, I've never been a big advocate of sailing with boots because they can get stuck in the straps, but in Pozo with this amount of rocks, they roll around. At low tide you get a sort of slippier rocks, so having a set of boots can definitely save you, especially if you end up down the bunker, which we're going to be talking about in a bit. So today is actually quite a relaxing day in Pozo. Probably guys on 4.2s. Let's have a look. You know, some of the smaller guys will still be on small sails, but this is a very friendly and an easy day to come. What have we got here? Yeah, 4.5. So 4.5 in Pozo is a light wind day. And a couple of you out there will be thinking, how can 4.5 be a light day? It is. A 3.7 day is almost the norm here in Pozo, so it's crazy. So this guy's going on his 4.5. You speak English?
No.
Okay.
Only Spanish.
How heavy
Sorry.
are you? How heavy?
No.
No, you don't know. Okay. Well, you know, I'm pretty sure I could be on a 4.5 quite easily. So this is the beach. This is what you've got to navigate when you come to Pozo for the first time. There's different ways of doing it. You can rock hop, go from one big rock to another big rock. That can cause problems if it's unsteady, but you've just got to go down there nice and easy. We're going to get out of the way this guy as he's going to go in. But he's on an 87 litre waveboard and a 4.5. So we'll see how he gets on. We've got, you know, we're low tide at the moment, so this is a great time to come. If you're a youth, if you're just getting into the spot, it usually hasn't got the pros because it's a bit lighter today. And the waves at low tide are kind of peaky. So they're not sort of big full lines when you haven't got much swell like today, but you get nice little peaks for trying forwards, to doing chop hops. And also at low tide in this inside bit here, although it's rocks on the beach, in the water it's sand. So it is actually, it doesn't look it now, but at the low tide, where you can see that tiny yellow sail where Eric is, I think, it is super like flat sand, which is really nice and easy to turn around. So that is Pozo. Right, I'm going to try and explain to you a little bit. So like I said, first come to Pozo, the bay goes around like this. So up this top end, it is cross shore, semi cross shore, you know, a little bit of on, but it's more cross shore up here. So this is an easier spot to sail. As we get down to the bunker, as we call it, down that bottom end, it goes more onshore. So the problem with onshore is the wave hits you from the side, and if you're not careful, if you fall in, you just keep getting wave after wave, and then you can potentially end up on the bunker. Now, it doesn't mean on the concrete square thing down there. I'm talking about on the rocks down that bottom end. And it is very difficult with an onshore to get off that beach. So the best way to do it is to walk out. Now, there are urchins, you know, slippy rocks down there. So if you've got a set of boots, it's your first time to Pozo, that is a good reason to wear boots. And then once you've walked out, you have to walk all the way back around before sailing out again. And it is a hell of a walk when you've got a lot of wind. Justin did it the other day. Cue the footage. And he's like, oh my God, I've done the walk of shame. And he was feeling it. I could see he was feeling a little bit like, oh, I can't believe it. They told me not to do it. But then when you're here for a few days, you realize that there's 10 people a day, maybe more, doing it. It's not the end of the world. It's a long walk, but everyone has done it. The pros have done it, everyone. Now, at a higher tide, you can get out of that by doing a bit of a body drag and kind of body dragging in. But next up, we're going to check out a little bit further down the beach. Before we go up there, I should really say, you know, not everyone is going to sail for 2 hours, come in and pack up. You know, some people like to go for half an hour, come in, have a rest, put the gear on the beach. Now, obviously you can see the beach. It's rocks everywhere. So there is a trick that, I'm not saying you should do this with the rental gear, but with my own gear, I put a pretty decent size smooth rock on the bottom of the sail, which is above the mast base in the bottom triangle. And this helps keep the board from rocking from side to side and grinding itself on the rock. You know what I mean? There isn't as much wind here as there is out there, but now they've actually built this new sort of arena. I don't know what you call it, kind of. I don't think they've done a good job. If I'm totally honest, the guy who designed this was not a windsurfer. They could have done a better job. I might go into that in a minute. But this, obviously, the wood's great. You can see actually someone's already put their gear down here. So we're just going to have a look at the technique they've used. And you can see they've used the rock. So that's excessive. I won't lie. That's a pretty big rock. Is that yours? How did you pick that up? That's good going, dude. No, that's pretty impressive. That's a 2-4, and he's managed to get that rock onto that. But it's solid and safe, you know. Weirdly, that is actually a good way to do it. Your board's not on the beach rocking from side to side, and it definitely works. So obviously these are the Gobish family, you can see. Young kids, young rippers from Germany. They've got the techniques down, that's for sure. So yeah, there are different techniques. Everyone's got a different technique. Now, I'm going to talk about who the hell designed this beach. What is this for? You know, like what you need as someone sitting on the beach is like mini windbreaks. And back in the day, there used to be like windbreaks like this. So you kind of need these separated windbreaks with somewhere to sit, because it is pretty brutal down here. You know, if you've got a partner and she wants to come and watch you windsurfing, there is few spots to sit here. One of them is El Viento, obviously. One where Sammy was filming. And there is literally a couple of other spots which we're going to go into. And it sounds daft. You're thinking, oh God, we don't care, Ben. But you will. If you have to bring someone with you, or you want them to film you, it's not easy to find shelter. So for me, they just need to put another level in here and then some windbreaks. It'd be great. Because it is, you know, this is probably, you know, Margaret River, Hookeeper, great spots to watch windsurfing. Pozo is definitely up there. It is one of the best places to just watch the carnage and the craziness that is, you know, windsurfing, jumping. And this is a great, if you were coming to Pozo, this would be a great first day. You know, not crazy windy, but windy. Some little ramps going on. You know, all the top pros aren't out, so you've got a bit of, you know, time and space. This is, you know, you can see all the kids are out right now. And this is why, when these kids come for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they sail every day and they improve so much. It's kind of crazy. So, in all the beach, I'm going to show you the next spot. There'll be someone there because it is the only shelter. Oh, there we go. We don't mess with her. When she's there, we don't go anywhere near it. Right. So, like I said, there's not many spots to go. That's it. You've got a couple of sheltered spots. There's another spot down here. This is Yosis Pond spot. It sounds mad, but it's swear. And then there is a famous Windsurfing.TV camera spot, which is now kind of like, I mean, the paparazzi were usually down here, because this is the old International Windsurfing Centre. At the moment, it's not being used. I'm waiting to see what they do with it, because this was, you know, you had accommodation up the top, there was a gear storage down this bottom end, but at the moment it's kind of in transition. So I'm kind of waiting to see, you know, what happens. But if you have done the walk of shame, this is like the final bit. This is when you get to this bit here, you're like, oh, I've nearly made it. Because the walk of shame, the real walk of shame is from basically over in Salinas if the wind drops. But so let's go a little bit around here. Ah, see, this looks a bit rough now because they are repairing the whole thing. But, you know, from here, if you spin around to see what, basically, this is where the paparazzi sit, is pretty much what you're looking at. And the perspective from down here is so different to sitting up at El Viento. So the waves look bigger, the jumps look bigger, you're really close. And then obviously the bunker is down there, but you can see kind of all this kind of rocks and stuff like this at the low tide. It is good to look at all that before you go sailing. Now, Pozo is Pozo. Gran Canaria has other spots. So we're talking Vargas, you know, which is further up where Philip Costa, you know, famously grew up. That was his beach. It's a little bit of a different wave, but even here in Pozo, you do have other options. So in the distance there, you can actually see a few kites. There's a place called Salinas. And that place actually has a more rideable wave. You know, it's a little bit less onshore than Pozo. So at low tide, you do see a lot of the guys go down there. And if you look online, you'll probably find some good footage. But yes, interesting thing, the current, I think I kind of explained it earlier, but you can see basically from this bit, the current pushes in this way. So if you are on the rocks, low tide, you've pretty much got no chance. If you're on the rocks at low tide, you've probably got to take your medicine, hobble over the rocks and walk back up to the deeper spot here. If you go into the rocks at high tide, you can potentially walk out a little bit or try and body drag and use the current to get back up this way. Because as soon as you're into this bit, you can kind of edge your way out. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up Pozo. I've probably missed something. If you're a Pozo local, if you've been here a lot of times before, let me know in the comments below any other tips that you would have for Pozo. In terms of wetsuit, you know, you see people wearing full wetsuits. It's for protection. It is warm. You could sail here in your shorts. There is a wind chill, so a shorty, definitely a little bit of neoprene helps. I would definitely say that. But, you know, it's not uncommon to see people in a 3-2 long arm wetsuit sailing. It's not for the cold. I can tell you that much. It's not for the cold. Sail size, average sail size. Let's say you're not renting from Pozo Winds. You know, you're going to bring your own gear. I'm 82 kilos, 80 kilos. I can pretty much survive here with a 78 litre board. You know, obviously with windsurfing, it's always good to bring a couple of boards. So if you're going to bring one board, with your volume would be all right, but on the windy days it's going to feel big, no doubt about it. Sail sizes, what do I bring? 3.7 to 4.0 is kind of main size sail for me here. On the windy days, yes, I'm on a 3.4, but the main sails I enjoy using, which is like decent, 3.7, 4.0, 4.2. That tiny range there would be sail sizes I'd be thinking of bringing. Obviously you don't need to bring every size, but just to give you an idea. Will you use a 4.5? Yeah, maybe. On the lighter days, you could use a 4.5. I'd probably still be able to sail a 4.2 right now if I was desperate. On the light days where nearly all the other Canary Islands is not working, you could still be on 4.7 here, 5.0, and it'll still be working. So, you know, this is the beauty of Pozo. If you want to guarantee a trip where you're going to go sailing, this is the spot. Okay, did you get that? I think you did. Okay, so this has to be mentioned. We're a week before the PWA World Cup. All the top guys in the world are here. The young guns pushing through. The level is through the roof, but so is the tension on the water. Don't judge this place on the week before the World Cup because it's intense. If you are not at a level where you're seeing doubles like this going crazy, I would suggest at certain states of tide when all the guys are pushing hard, if you start getting mixed up down here in the bunker and you're not able to predict or read what other people are going to do, there's going to be a problem. Now, I'm not telling you what you should and you shouldn't, you can't and you can do. Of course you can do it, it's up to you. But there is definitely times to go out, and one of them is not when everyone is out pushing, because it can be dangerous. You know, gear gets let go of. These guys are pushing the highest level. So, how do I put it? It's, you know, it's like, not being rude, but it's like putting a tractor on a motorway. Putting a bike on a motorway, it's gonna cause problems. If you're going a lot slower, I did a GPS speed of Merino Gill the other day. He's up to 31.5 knots. That is crazy. In the break, going for jumps, they're hitting ramps. You know, people say, how do these guys go so high? They're going so fast. When you're going fast, you know, the top guys, most of them, understand what each other wants to do. And if you're not able to do that, this is when the problems occur. Is it totally your fault? No. But there's different incidents in other sports. Surfing, you know, if you're paddling out through the lineup and someone's trying to ride a wave, you're not really doing anything wrong, but that's not etiquette. You don't do that. That's not what you do. Same in Pozo. If you're just tootling through the break and people are coming out trying to do doubles and, you know, understand what you're going to do, you probably don't know what you're going to do, you know, and this is not, again, to put you off, but at this time of year, it's tricky. And I would suggest sailing further upwind unless we've got a quieter period, and then you kind of build up your skills down the bottom end. But don't kind of go into the middle of the fire when everyone's on it, because it can be pretty scary, let alone anything else dangerous.